All right. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
We finished up Ezra last week. We were starting in Nehemiah. We're going to try and do the impossible and do Nehemiah in 2 weeks, okay? And then we will be done for the semester. Well, this morning, Nehemiah, and Nehemiah is about rebuilding the heart of Israel. Ezra was about rebuilding their soul with getting them back into the temple. Nehemiah is rebuilding the heart of Israel, which is Jerusalem, okay? The wall of Jerusalem. So the problem identified. Verse 1. The words of Nehemiah, son of Hakaliah, in the month of Kislev, in the 20th year, while I was in the citadel of Susa, Hananiah, one of my brothers, came from Judah with some other men. And I questioned them about the Jewish remnant that had survived the exile, and also about Jerusalem. They said to me, those who survived the exile are back in the province, are in great trouble and disgrace. The wall of Jerusalem is broken down, and its gates have been burned with fire. Okay, so first thing we learn is Nehemiah learns the state of the walls of Jerusalem. Now, this is during the month of Kislev, which is around November, December. Okay. And it is in the 20th year of King Artaxerxes, which we will find out later. So that's about 445 BC. And he is in the citadel of Susa, which is the capital of Persia at this time. Right? And Susa, by the way, was where Esther had been. Okay. So he has one of his brothers, Hananiah, who really is his brother. He had left him, and we're going to find out he leaves him in charge of Jerusalem. He comes and says, Jerusalem's walls are still burned. They're still down. It's a disgrace. And this throws Nehemiah into mourning because of the disgrace. I think he was surprised because remember in Ezra, we read that they had tried to rebuild the wall like 18, 19 years earlier, and Artaxerxes had said, no, you're not going to do that. He may have thought that in that intervening time, the walls had been rebuilt, but they had not. And so this throws him into a great mourning. Verse 4. When I heard these things, I sat down and wept for some days, and I mourned and fasted and prayed before the God of heaven. Then I said, Lord, the God of heaven, the great and awesome God, who keeps his covenant with love, a covenant of love with those who love him and keep his commandments. Let your ear be attentive and your eyes open to hear the prayer your servant is praying before you day and night for your servants, the people of Israel. I confess the sins we Israelites, including myself and my father's family, have committed against you. We have acted very wickedly towards you. We have not obeyed the commands, decrees, and laws you gave your servant Moses. So Nehemiah is mourning, but he turns to God and begins to pray. And the first part of his prayer is he's praising God for who God is. He is one who hears and is attentive and loves his people. So he asks, please be attentive to this. The next thing he does is he requests that he requests to be heard and forgiven. So he admits not only his sins, but the sins of the people, that they had turned away from God. And that's why they had ended up in exile. So he is requesting forgiveness. Verse 8, remember the instruction you gave your servant Moses, saying, if you are unfaithful, I will scatter you among the nations. But if you return to me and obey my commands, then even if your exiled people are at the farthest horizon, I will gather them from there and bring them to the place I have chosen as a dwelling for my name. So in verses 8 and 9, he is referring to the covenant that God made with Israel in Deuteronomy 29, 22 to 30, verse 10. And in that covenant, God said, if you rebel against me, if you start worshiping false gods, I will remove you from the land. But I will also bring you back into the land when you start worshiping me again. And so Nehemiah is going, okay, both these things have happened. Now, where do we go from here? Okay, we know that you are a God that upholds your covenants. So now where are we going from here? Verse 10, they are your servants and your people whom you redeemed by your great strength and your mighty hand. Lord, let your ear be attentive to the prayer of this your servant and to the prayer of your servants who delight in revering your name. Give your servant success today by granting him favor in the presence of this man. So he's asking that, he's saying the people have returned to God. So please listen to what we're saying. Give me favor in the presence of this man. Well, who is this man that he needs favor from? I was cupbearer to the king. He was in a very prominent position with the king. So the man is the king that he's going to speak to. And the king is Artaxerxes, okay? Son of Xerxes, who Esther was queen with Xerxes. Nehemiah chapter 2. See how fast that went? If we can get by that fast, we're going to be great. Nehemiah 2. Preparation. So in the month of Nisan, which is around April, May, about this time of year, in the 20th year of King Artaxerxes, which is 445 BC, when wine was brought for him, I took the wine and gave it to the king. I had not been sad in his presence before, so the king asked me, why does your face look so sad when you are not ill? This can be nothing but sadness of heart. I was very much afraid. There is a reason for that. If you were a downer around the king, he could just, and you're gone, okay? So you need to be happy and cheery. But the king knew Nehemiah well enough that he was normally a cheerful guy, and this was something that was really eating at him. I was very much afraid, but I said to the king, may the king live forever. Of course you say that because, anyway, not saying that would be disrespectful. Why should my face not look sad when the city where my ancestors are buried lies in ruins and its gates have been destroyed by fire? So he lays it out. My city, Jerusalem, where I grew up, where my ancestors lived, where they are buried. My ancestral tomb is there. It's been destroyed by fire. I'm just, saddened about that. It grieves me. Verse 4, then the king said to me, what is it you want? I like this. Then I prayed to the God of heaven. Think about that. He's been praying all this time. And the king says, okay, what do you want? And then he just says a quick word to God, help me do this. He didn't jump down on his knees and bow his head, raise his hands or anything. He just said a quick mental thing. Prayers do not have to be long and complicated. So I prayed to the God of heaven, and I answered the king, if it pleases the king, and if your servant has found favor in his sight, let him send me to the city in Judah, where my ancestors are buried, so that I can rebuild it. Then the king with the queen sitting beside him asked me, how long will your journey take, and when will you get back? It pleased the king to send me, so I set a time. All right, so he's not only been praying about this, he's been making plans also. Sometimes we just pray and say, okay, God, fix this, and expect God to do everything. We don't do anything. Sometimes that happens. Usually it's the opposite way around. We try to do everything, and then, okay, God, if you want to come along, it's okay. But this is a union between prayer and actually doing something, making plans. And so he's requested to rebuild. And now they've said, okay, so when will you return? See, they want him back. They like him. It's not like, okay, get out of here. We don't want you anymore. They want him back. And so he gave them a date. He had figured out about how long it would take. Verse 7, I also said to him, if it pleases the king, may I have letters to the governors of Trans-Euphrates, so that they will provide me safe conduct until I arrive in Judah. And may I have a letter to Asaph, keeper of the royal park, so he will give me timber to make beams for the gates of the citadel of the temple, and for the city wall, and for the residence I will occupy. And because the gracious hand of my God was on me, the king granted my requests. So, see, he knew he's going to need stones, he's going to need safe passage, he's going to need wood. And so he asks for letters of these things. If he did not have these letters from the king, then remember how Ezra had such, in Ezra, we saw they had so much trouble trying to get things done, and they'd have to go back and forth with the king. This way, Nehemiah just goes up and says, here, deal with it. Okay, so he has safe passage now. He has these letters to get the materials he needs. Verse 9, so I went to the governor of Trans-Euphrates and gave them the king's letters. The king had also sent army officers and cavalry with me. So the king wasn't taking any chances here. He really likes Nehemiah. So he not only gave him the letters, he sent military with him. It's like, okay, you want to mess with me? Go ahead, try it. When Sanballat the Horonite and Tobiah the Ammonite, boo. Yeah, when this pops up, as they're saying, everybody go boo, because these guys are just going to be a thorn in Nehemiah's side. When Sanballat the Horonite and Tobiah the Ammonite official heard about this, they were very much disturbed that someone had come to promote the welfare of the Israelites. Now, these guys, remember in Ezra, most of the opposition was opposing them because they felt that if they built the temple, more Jews would come in and start and take over the land. These guys already had their land. They were situated. They were not in Judah. They were outside of Judah. They just did not like the Jews. They didn't want them getting any preferential treatment because they wanted the preferential treatment. Okay? So these guys are just opposing because they want to. Verse 11. I went to Jerusalem, and after staying there 3 days, I set out during the night. I set out during the night with a few others. I had not told anyone what my God had put in my heart to do for Jerusalem. There were no mounts with me except the one I was riding on. So this is a secret mission, as far as he's concerned. He's going out at night. The only mount that he has is his own donkey, and there's a few other people with him. Okay. By night, I went out through the valley gate toward the jackal well and the dung gate, examining the walls of Jerusalem. So he's going outside the walls to look at Jerusalem. Examining the walls of Jerusalem, which had been broken down, and its gates, which had been destroyed by fire. Then I moved on toward the fountain gate and the king's pool, but there was not enough room for my mount to get through. So I went up the valley by night, examining the wall. So he gets to the area of the fountain gate and the king's pool, which, if I remember right, is on the east side. Well, the east side of Jerusalem, the wall does butt up against a valley, okay, the Kidron Valley. And so he didn't have enough room to get through on the road. He had to go down the valley, cross it, and go around and get to the other side because there's so much debris there. Finally, I turned back and returned through the valley gate. The officials did not know where I had gone or what I was doing because as yet I had said nothing to the Jews or the priests or nobles or officials or any others who would be doing the work. Then I said to them, you see the trouble we were in. Jerusalem lies in ruins, and its gates have been burned with fire. Come, let us rebuild the wall of Jerusalem, and we will no longer be in disgrace. I also told them about the gracious hand of God, my God on me and what the king had said to me. So he comes up and he speaks to the nobles and says, we need to rebuild these walls. And he said, and God is behind this because, and then he tells them about what happened with the king. So he's getting them on board. It's not just something I want to do, guys. This is something God is behind. And they replied, let us start rebuilding. So they began this good work. Verse 19, but when Sanballat the Horonite, Tobiah the Ammonite, official, and Geshem the Arab heard about it, they mocked and ridiculed us. What is this you're doing? They asked, are you rebelling against the king? So they're just trying to ridicule him and get him to stop doing it. I answered them by saying, the God of heaven will give us success. We, his servants, will start rebuilding. But as for you, you have no share in Jerusalem or any claim or historic right to it. So they come up, are you rebelling against the king? You're building rebuilding the walls of this city. Are you getting ready to do an insurrection? What's up? And we may wonder why, I should have hit this earlier, but we may wonder why Artaxerxes said now, after 19 years, yeah, go ahead and rebuild Jerusalem. the walls. Some historians think that it is about this time that the Egyptians are making moves toward Persia, and so he wanted Jerusalem there as another safeguard against them. But these guys said, "Hey, are you going to rebel against the king? We're going to tell the king. We're going to tattle on you." And I like his answer. The God of heaven will give us success. In other words, we don't need your help. God of heaven is helping us. We as servants will start building. As for you, you have no share in Jerusalem or any claim or historic right to it. You have nothing to do with this. Just get out of our hair. Chapter 3, rebuilding Jerusalem's wall. And if you want to, you can just watch the screens and don't worry about your Bibles. Because what I've done is we have the map of Jerusalem up here, okay? And I have the text here. And we have the yellow areas that you can see is as best as I can do. Nobody can get this exactly right because we don't know all the references. But as best as I can do, I've matched up the text with what they're talking about up there, okay? So as it says it's building, that's what they say they're building, okay? Ready to go? So up in that northern part there, I better get a drink before I start this. Chapter 3, verse 1. Elisha the high priest and his fellow priests went to work and rebuilt the sheep gate. They dedicated it and set its doors in place, building as far as the Tower of the 100, which they dedicated, and as far as the Tower of Hananel. Well, if I would go the right direction instead of the wrong, there we go. Verse 2, the men of Jericho built the adjoining section, and Zachar, son of Imri, built next to them. So there's that next section. Notice the men of Jericho came and helped do this. As we go through this, just kind of look and think about the people that are doing this. I don't see any of them that are actually masons that are doing this, okay? The fish gate was rebuilt by the sons of Hassenaah. They laid its beams and put its doors and bolts and bars in place. Meremoth, son of Uriah, the son of Hakaz, repaired the next section. Next to him, Meshullam, son of Berechiah, the son of Meshezabel, made repairs. And next to him, Zadok, son of Baana, also made repairs. The next section was repaired by men of Tekoa. But their nobles would not put their shoulders under the work of their supervisors, under their supervisors. In other words, the nobles were lazy. Okay, that was a nice way of saying that. So the men of Tekoa did the work, the nobles sat there and supervised, all right?
A little snarky.
A little snarky, yeah. The Jeshanah gate, whatever that is, next gate was repaired by Joiada, son of Paseah, and Meshullam, son of Besodahah. They laid its beams and put its doors with their bolts and bars in place. Next to them, repairs were made by men from Gibeon and Mizpah, Melatiah of Gibeon, and Jadon of Meronoth, places under the authority of the governor of Trans-Euphrates. So you had these governors of Trans-Euphrates, but you had a governor also, and these guys were under his control. He allowed them to come and help. Okay.
So was somebody coordinating how they did it? Or
Yeah. Yeah. We'll find out. Nehemiah's just running around all over the place trying to get stuff done.
Bill, how physically large an area is that from like one end to the other? Is it 1,000 feet? 3,000 feet?
It's
Half a mile?
probably half a mile. Yeah, it's large.
Where was wasn't there a Roman garrison associated?
Not at this point because Rome hadn't started yet. We're not even up to the Greeks yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is smaller than original ones. The temple was.
This may have been about the same as it originally was. Because what they were doing, they didn't have to redo a foundation. They were just rebuilding the wall that had fallen.
When they had like debris around the rocks and stuff, they could just.
Yes. They had some debris that they could reuse. All right, so Uzziel, son of Hariah, one of the goldsmiths. So a goldsmith is working on this. You'd expect that part to be made of gold, but no, just rocks. Repaired the next section, and Hananiah, one of the perfume makers. Now there you go. Have a wall that smells really good. A scratch and sniff wall. Hananiah, one of the perfume makers, made the repairs next to that. They restored Jerusalem as far as the broad wall. Okay. Rephaiah, son of Hur, ruler of a half district of Jerusalem, repaired the next section. So this is one of the more important people within Jerusalem. Joining this, Jedaiah, son of Paramoth, made repairs opposite his house, and Hetu, son of Hashabniah, made repairs next to him. Okay, since we don't really know where their house was, I'm guessing. I'm guessing on a lot of this stuff. Malchijah, the son of Harim, and Hashub, son of Pahath Moab, repaired another section and the Tower of Ovens. At least that one I know where it is. Okay, so they're up in there. Yeah, Tower of Furnaces would be the same as the Tower of Ovens. Okay, Shalom, son of Halohesh, ruler of a half district of Jerusalem, repaired the next section with the help of his daughters. Yes, the women worked better than the nobles of Tekoa.
Big section.
That's a pretty big section. And I guess that's right. I don't know. That's based on the description. Yeah, he had a lot of daughters.
It's got the biggest section too.
Yes, it is. And I'm wondering if I get this picture of the guy out there going, see how well my daughters work? Do you want to marry them?
Or it was actually the men doing the work and the daughter.
Yeah.
In charge.
Husband, do this.
Yes. Verse 13, the valley gate was repaired by Hanun and the residents of Sanoah. So another town comes in. They rebuilt it and put its doors with their bolts and bars in place. They also repaired 1,000 cubits of the wall as far as the dung gate. Okay. Now, when they say bars, okay, they're not drinking bars. They are the bars that go across the thing. You're probably thinking, wow, they have a lot of bars in Jerusalem, or they didn't get any work done.
Well, and stacking up sections of a long wall like along the South Shore Bridge is probably considerably less complex than building a door or a gate.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, because the gates weren't just, you have a wall here, and a gate here. It was wall here, inside, and then you have a double gate usually. Okay. So they were fortified gates.
So these people are coming from other areas. Why are they helping?
Because they're part of Judah.
Okay.
Yeah. The dung gate, verse 14, the dung gate was repaired by Malchijah, son of Rechab, ruler of the district of Bet Hecarim. He rebuilt it and put its doors with their bolts and bars in place. The fountain gate, okay, now here we're having to go from the main wall going up into the secondary wall. Okay, there was a secondary wall in Jerusalem. In case the first wall got breached, they could get behind the secondary wall. Okay, so this is part of the secondary wall. The fountain gate was repaired by Shalom, son of Kol Hoseh, ruler of the district of Mizpah. He rebuilt it, roofing it over and putting its doors and bolts and bars in place. So he roofed his. I guess that way the archers wouldn't get wet when they were trying to kill the people that are coming in. I don't know. He rebuilt it, roofing it over and putting its doors and bolts and bars in place. He also repaired the wall of the pool of Siloam by the king's garden as far as the steps going down from the city of David. Okay. So if you look, city of David's right here. So he was able to get from Fountain Gate up into that area there. And the city of David, by the way, is still visible today.
The pool of Siloam,
Verse 16.
didn't that come in the New
The
Testament?
pool of Siloam was part of the New Testament. Yeah, part of Jerusalem, New Testament. Verse 16. Beyond him, Nehemiah, son of Akbuk, ruler of a half district of Bet-Sur, made repairs up to a point opposite the tombs of David, as far as the artificial pool of the house of heroes. So he's back on the outside. He's opposite where this guy's working. He's on the outside wall. Next to him, the repairs were made by the Levites under Rehum, son of Bani. Beside him, Hashabiah, ruler of half the district of Keilah, carried out repairs for his district. So he's on the inside wall also.
What's a sepulchre?
A sepulcher?
So, yeah.
Boom.
Tomb.
Next to him, the repairs were made by their fellow Levites under Benui, son of Henadad, ruler of the other half district of Keilah. So the Levites are working on this too. They weren't just concerned with the temple now, they're helping with the wall as well. Next to him, Ezer, son of Jeshua, ruler of Mizpah, repaired another section from a point facing the ascent to the armory as far as the angle of the wall. So that little corner up there. Next to him, Baruch, son of Zebai, zealously repaired another section from the angle to the entrance of the house of Eliashib, the high priest. I like that. Zealously repaired. This guy must have been hyper. Okay? It's like stone, 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 stone. Next to him, Meremoth, son of Uriah, the son of Hakaz, repaired another section from the entrance of Eliashib's house to the end of it.
Why did they put the spring outside?
The spring is outside the wall, and Hezekiah actually built a tunnel so that the water would flow into Jerusalem, which is probably with that one pool.
Does it leave it unprotected for somebody that might contaminate the spring?
Yeah. But there was no way. The spring's a little bit further out than you would think. Where's the spring? No, go to the spring. That is actually in the valley. There's no way to drop the wall down to it. Yeah. Next to him, Meremoth, son of Uriah, son of Hakaz, repaired another section from the entrance of Eliashib's house to the end of it.
Was the city of David an original fortification?
Yes. Yeah. It really was David's
Right.
original boundaries. The repairs next to him were made by the priests from the surrounding region. So we're moving on up on the outside wall now. Beyond them, Benjamin and Hashub made repairs in front of their house, and next to them, Azariah, son of Maaseiah, the son of Ananiah, made repairs beside his house. Once again, I'm just guessing where these guys lived, okay?
It sounds like this is all going on simultaneous.
It is. Everybody's working at the same time. Verse 24, next to him, Benui, son of Henadad, repaired another section from Azariah's house to the angle and the corner. And Palal, son of Uzai, worked opposite the angle and the tower projecting from the upper palace near the court of the guard. So he's back into the inner walls now. Next to him, Pedaiah, son of Peros, and the temple servants living on the hill of Ophel made repairs up to a point opposite the water gate toward the east and the projecting tower. Once again, that inner wall. Next to them, the men of Tekoa repaired another section from the great projecting tower to the wall of Ophel. I'm guessing they left the nobles behind who weren't doing any work in the first place and went ahead and did this. No, they were getting it. They're wanting it all the way up. We'll get there with the halfway in a minute. Above the horse gate, the priests made repairs each in front of his own house. So that's probably in that section around the upper house of the king. Next to them, Zadok, son of Immer, made repairs opposite his house. Next to him, Shemaiah, son of Shechaniah, the guard at the east gate, made repairs. So moving up towards the east gate. Next to him, Hananiah, son of Shelemiah, and Hanun, the sixth son of Salaph, repaired another section. Next to them, Meshullam, son of Berechiah, made repairs opposite his living quarters. Next to him, Malchijah, one of the goldsmiths, another goldsmith, made repairs as far as the house of the temple servants and the merchants. Excuse me. As far as the house of the temple servants and the merchants opposite the inspection gate, and as far as the room above the corner. So we're up to the corner now. Rounding the bend, And between the room above the corner and the sheep gate, the goldsmiths and merchants made repairs. You have all kinds of different people coming in, people from out of town, goldsmiths, merchants, Levites, nobles who don't want to work, important people, poor people. Everybody's pitching in to help do this.
So we have the names of these people, but there were like crews that came in that
Mhm.
they,
Yeah, it wasn't just this one individual doing that. I'm guessing what's his name with his daughters had a large family. All right, so chapter 4.
Bill, go back to the map and just ask a question.
Yeah.
So the Wailing Wall or the Western Wall, where would that be?
Okay.
Right.
In today's, you see where the temple is here?
Mhm.
This square, that's what Herod built up and filled in, so it'll be flat. The Wailing Wall is this wall
Okay.
here, the western side of that.
Thank you.
Another question.
Yes.
This is about 100 years after it was knocked down. Did anyone see the original city before it was knocked down? Were they old enough?
This was actually, well, let's see. Yeah, it is about 100 years. 425, 586. That's 60 years. No, that's not right. 586, 445. I can't do the math in my head. 80 years. So there were some that returned that would have known what the original walls were. And remember, they started rebuilding them before, but
Yes.
were stuck. So they would have known what the plans were. And you could still see, I mean, the walls were knocked down, but you could still see the outlines of the walls there. Yeah.
So the Muslim Quarter, is it just the upper area? Where is that? Do you have any idea?
I know the Muslim parts have up in this area, so
Right.
probably that Muslim quarter. And then you have the Jewish and the Christian.
Mhm.
Nehemiah 4, fighting opposition. When Sanballat, who heard that we were rebuilding the wall, he became angry and was greatly incensed. No, he didn't have incense, he got incensed. He ridiculed the Jews, and in the presence of his associates in the army of Samaria, he said, "What are these feeble Jews doing? Will they restore their wall? Will they offer sacrifices? Will they finish in a day? Can they bring the stone back to life from those heaps of rubble, burned as they are?" Okay. And then Tobiah the Ammonite, who was at his side, said, "What they are building, even a fox climbing up on it would break down their wall of stone." So they're sitting there, and their whole opposition is ridicule. They can't do anything about it, so all they're going to do is sit there and make fun of these guys.
Basically KU fans.
Okay, I will not say anything because I put this on the internet and I don't want any comments.
Lovely community.
Okay, so the first tactic is ridicule. What's the response here in verses 4? Yeah, 4 through 6. Hear us, O God, for we are despised. Turn their insults back on their own heads. Give them over as plunder in a land of captivity. Do not cover up their guilt or blot out their sins from your sight, for they have thrown insults in the face of the builders. So basically, Nehemiah throws a curse at them. Right? He prays that God will curse these men for their because they're going against the people of God and going against something God wants done. Verse 6. So we rebuilt the wall till all of it reached half its height. There's your half the height. Your thing now. For the people worked with all their heart. So even with all this ridicule, they still were working. They got it up to half the height. Verse 7. When Sanballat, Tobiah, the Arabs, the Ammonites, and the people of Ashdod, heard that the repairs of Jerusalem's walls had gone ahead and that the gaps were being closed, they were very angry. They all plotted together to come and fight against Jerusalem and stir up trouble against it. But we prayed to our God and posted a guard day and night to meet this threat. So the opposition then threatens military action against them to come and destroy that wall and destroy them. And the response is, we're taking up arms. but we also pray. Notice they pray, but they also take up arms. Verse 10. Meanwhile, the people in Judah said, the strength of the laborers is giving out, and there is so much rubble we cannot rebuild the wall. Also, our enemies said, before they know it or see us, we will be right there among them and will kill them and put an end to the work. Then the Jews who lived near them came and told us 10 times over, wherever you turn, they will attack us. Okay, so the next thing is a fear tactic. You're not going to know when we're going to hit. We're just going to hit. It's not going to be like a military coming in. It's going to be like terrorists coming in and taking you out. Okay? And that's got the people disturbed. Verse 13. Therefore, I stationed some of the people behind the lowest points of the wall at exposed places, posting them by families with their swords, spears, and bows. After I looked things over, I stood up and said to the nobles, the officials, and the rest of the people, don't be afraid of them. Remember the Lord who is great and awesome, and fight for your families, your sons, your daughters, your wives, and your homes. So his response was, okay, we have these places that are lower, only some of it's halfway, and really halfway is like 10 feet. But some of it, they can still get over easily. So these lower places in the wall, let's station people where if anybody tries to get over, we can just take them out. Okay, and then he says, hey, God is on your side. Don't worry about it. God is on your side. He will give you strength. He will help you fight for your families and your sons and your daughters, your wives and your homes, especially your daughters who are helping to build the wall. Verse 15, when our enemies heard that we were aware of their plot and that God had frustrated it, we all returned to the wall, each to our own work. Okay, so the opposition backs down. They said, well, these guys are ready for us. It won't do any good. Verse 16, from that day on, half of my men did the work, while the other half were equipped with spears, shields, bows, and armor. The officers posted themselves behind all the people of Judah who were rebuilding the wall. Those who carried materials did their work with one hand and held a weapon in the other. And each of the builders wore his sword at his side as he worked. But the man who sounded the trumpet stayed with me. All right, so he set everybody up as a military person. Okay, these are further precautions. Just because they back down now doesn't mean they're going to stay that way. So you have half the people working, and then the other half are holding weapons. And I wonder if they didn't just switch off every day, which would probably be good for the workers to give them a day off every once in a while, switch off. And then even those who were working, though, had their swords on their side, ready to go. Those who were carrying stuff had a sword in their hand as they were carrying stuff, or at least on their side. They were ready to fight. And, Israel still kind of has this method because everyone in Israel has to be in the military at some point. So if you attack Israel, you are going to run. It doesn't matter what house you go into, that person's going to be able to take you out because they're all militarily trained.
People don't seem to learn.
No. All right, verse 19. Oh, by the way, the guy with the trumpet, very important, and he stayed with Nehemiah. Nehemiah, like I said, is running around all over the place here, keeping track of stuff. But the guy with the trumpet is the one who sounds the alarm. When they hear the trumpet, they know the battle's on. Right? So verse 19, then I said to the nobles, the officials, and the rest of the people, the work is extensive and spread out, and we are widely separated from each other along the wall. Wherever you hear the sound of the trumpet, join us there. Our God will fight for us. So if you hear the trumpet sound, that's where the battle is. Everybody come running with your weapons. Don't leave your weapons with you. Just come running, okay? Verse 21, so we continued the work with half the men holding spears from the first light of dawn till the stars came out. At that time, I also said to the people, have every man and his helper stay inside Jerusalem at night, so they can serve us as guards by night and as workers by day. Neither I, nor my brothers, nor my men, nor the guards with me took off our clothes. Each had his weapon, even when we went for water. So they also kept vigilance at night and brought all the men who were working, instead of allowing them to stay outside the city in tents or something, everybody get inside the city, inside the walls. Okay, so you can protect it. Nehemiah was a very practical person. He prayed and believed in God, but also believed that God gave us tools to use that he can use through us. Nehemiah 5, fighting poverty. So it's not just the wall that's the problem. Now we got poverty going on. Verse 1. Now what the men and their wives raised a great outcry against their fellow Jews. Some were saying, we and our sons and daughters are numerous. In order for us to eat and stay alive, we must get grain. Others were saying, we are mortgaging our fields, our vineyards, and our homes to get grain during the famine. So apparently there was a famine going on at this time. Still others were saying, we have had to borrow money to pay the king's tax on our fields and vineyards. Although we are of the same flesh and blood as our fellow Jews, and though our children are as good as theirs, yet we have to subject our sons and daughters to slavery. Some of our daughters have already been enslaved, but we are powerless because our fields and our vineyards belong to others. So what's going on here is these people, remember the people of Egypt when we were talking about Joseph and the people having to come, they sell their land and they end up selling themselves. This is what's happening here. But it is the leaders of Israel that are doing this to the people. They are taking the land from the people and saying, well, we'll give you money if you give us your land. And then, well, we're out of land. Okay, well, give us your daughters and we'll sell them into slavery. So they were taking the daughters, giving the people money, and then selling the daughters into slavery to the Gentiles or their sons, which is completely against what God told them that they could do in Deuteronomy. And they are charging interest also, which was absolutely forbidden. They could charge interest to Gentiles, but they could not charge interest to the people of Israel because it's a whole family. Everybody's related. Everything belongs to them. Actually, everything belongs to God. And charging interest doesn't do anything but move money from this part of the family to this part of the family. All right, verse 6. When I heard their outcry and these charges, I was very angry. I pondered them in my mind and then accused the nobles and officials. I told them, you are charging your own people interest. So I called together a large meeting to deal with them and said, as far as possible, we have bought back our fellow Jews who were sold to the Gentiles. So Nehemiah went out and took his own money and bought back some of these people that had been put into slavery. Now you are selling your own people only for them to be sold back to us. You're selling your people to the Gentiles and we're having to buy them back. What kind of economics is that? They kept quiet because they could find nothing to say. Verse 9, so I continued. What you are doing is not right. Shouldn't you walk in the fear of our God to avoid the reproach of our Gentile enemies? I, my brothers, and my men are also lending the people money and grain. But let us stop charging interest. So he and his brothers were lending people money and grain so that they could survive. They did not charge interest, and knowing Nehemiah, he wasn't requiring it to be paid back. But let us stop charging interest. Give back to them immediately their fields, vineyards, olive groves, and houses, and also the interest you are charging them. 1% of the money, grain, new wine, and olive oil. They're only charging 1%. We think, oh, that'd be good. But that's still interest, and that was a lot of interest for that time. We will give it back, they said, and we will not demand anything more from them. We will do as you say. Then I summoned the priests and made the nobles and officials take an oath to do what they had promised. He's like, I'm not taking your word for it. You are going to take an oath in front of the priests, which means if you don't fulfill your oath, God is going to kill you, strike you dead. I also shook out the folds of my robe and said, in this way, may God shake out of their house and possessions anyone who does not keep this promise. So may such a person be shaken out and emptied. So he took his robes and he shook them and says, if anyone doesn't keep this promise, it's going to be like the crumbs off of my robe, they're just going to fall out. They'll be destroyed. Nothing left of them. So, verses 6 through 14, he is confronting the nobles. At this, the whole assembly said, Amen, and praised the Lord, and the people did as they had promised. Moreover, now this is more. Moreover, from the 20th year of King Artaxerxes, when I was appointed to be their governor in the land of Judah, until his 32nd year, 12 years, neither I nor my brothers ate the food allotted to the governor. But the earlier governors, those preceding me, placed a heavy burden on the people and took 40 shekels of silver from them in addition to food and wine. Their assistants also lorded it over the people, but out of reverence for God, I did not act like that. Instead, I devoted myself to the work on this wall. All my men were assembled there for the work. We did not acquire any land. Furthermore, 150 Jews and officials ate at my table, as well as those who came to us from the surrounding nations. Each day, 1 ox, 6 choice sheep, and some poultry were prepared for me, and every 10 days an abundant supply of wine of all kinds. In spite of all this, I never demanded the food allotted to the governor, because the demands were heavy on these people. So Nehemiah says, I did not take on anything. I mean, I could have taxed the people, and which was right, and had what the governor's supposed to have. He didn't do that. Somehow he was being provided for by God all of this food. And it wasn't just for his household. He was bringing in some of the poor people and having them eat as well. In verse 19, remember me with favor, my God, for all I've done for these people. So he understands the importance of this and wants God to remember this is what was done. Nehemiah 6, overcoming opposition. There's always opposition. All right, verse 1. When word came to Sanballat, Tobiah, Geshem the Arab, and the rest of our enemies that I had rebuilt the wall and not a gap was left in it, though up to that time I had not set the doors and the gates, Sanballat and Geshem sent me this message. Come, let us meet together in one of the villages on the plain of Ono. And he said, oh no. Now, the plain of Ono is in the northwest part of Judah, and it is surrounded by enemy territory. A great place to launch an attack. And he says, but they were scheming to harm me. So I sent messengers to them with this reply. I'm carrying on a great project and cannot go down. Why should the work stop while I leave it and go down to you? 4 times they sent me the same message, and each time I gave them the same answer. It's like, if you keep doing the same thing and getting the same result, isn't that a definition of insanity? Yeah. Then the 5th time, Sanballat, sent his aide to me with the same message, and in his hand was an unsealed letter. All right, so it's an unsealed letter, which means anyone could see it. That was intentional. If this had been a private message, it would have been sealed. But they want to intimidate Nehemiah by having this open to where everybody could have seen it as he was carrying it to him. And what was written? It is reported among the nations, and Geshem, who says it is true, that you and the Jews are plotting to revolt, and therefore you are building the wall. Moreover, according to these reports, you are about to become their king and have even appointed prophets to make this proclamation about you in Jerusalem. There is a king in Judah. Now this report will get back to the king, so come, let us meet together. So they're accusing him of sedition and insurrection, of wanting to become king instead of Artaxerxes. Verse 8. I sent him this reply. Nothing like what you're saying is happening. You are just making it up out of your head. In other words, it was fake news. But in today's version. So this is an attempt to discredit Nehemiah. All right. And Nehemiah's not buying it. He goes, anybody who reads this trash is going to know that's not right. That's not who I am. That's not what we're doing. So that didn't work. Verse 9, they are all trying to frighten us, thinking their hands will get weak, too weak for the work, and it will not be completed. But I prayed. See, he always prays. Now strengthen my hands. And God does. Now, verse 10. This is another attempt to discredit Nehemiah. One day I went to the house of Shemaiah, son of Deliah, son of Mehetabel, who was shut in at his home. He said, let us meet in the house of God inside the temple. Let us close the temple doors because men are coming to kill you. By night, they are coming to kill you. But I said, should a man like me run away, or should someone like me go into the temple to save his life? I will not go. I realized that God had not sent him, but that he had prophesied against me because Tobiah and Sanballat, who had hired him. He had been hired to intimidate me so that I would commit a sin by doing this, and then they would give me a bad name to discredit me. So what they're trying to do was make it seem like he is taking on special privileges by being able to go into the temple and hide from men who are supposedly killing him. And also they may just come back and say, he's paranoid. Nobody's trying to kill him. So they're trying to discredit him by doing this. Verse 14. Remember Tobiah and Sanballat, who, my God, because of what they have done. Remember also the prophet Noadiah and how she and the rest of the prophets have been trying to intimidate me. So the wall was completed on the 25th of Elul in 52 days. So he prays that these people, God will remember them and deal with them. Notice Nehemiah's never out for revenge. It's like, God, that are your problem. You take care of them. I know what I want done, and if you do it, that's great. But it's up to you. And so you notice that the prophet was female.
Yes.
That was unusual. And so there were false prophets there who were talking against Nehemiah, that this was not really God's plan. And so even with all this, they completed the wall on the 25th of Elul in 52 days. So, and Elul is, but I don't have that in there. It's August or September. Okay. 52 days is all it took them to do this.
The entire project?
The entire project. Yeah.
Wow. They did have God's help.
They did have God's help and no government oversight. All right, verse 17. Nope, 16. I'm somewhere in here. 16. When all our enemies heard about this, all the surrounding nations were afraid and lost their self-confidence because they realized that this work had been done with the help of our God. Now, there's another reason I think this does point to, if Egypt heard that Jerusalem is now fortified, that would scare them, because now the king of Persia has another fortification between him and them. All right. Also in those days, the nobles of Judah were sending many letters to Tobiah, and replies from Tobiah kept coming to them. For many in Judah were under oath to him, since he was son-in-law to Shechaniah, son of Erah, and his son Jehohanan, I never did get that right. Jehohanan, there we are, had married the daughter of Meshullam, son of Berechiah. Moreover, they kept reporting to me his good deeds and then telling him what I said. And Tobiah sent letters to intimidate me. Tobiah, boo. So the opposition continued even after the wall was done, because Nehemiah was still the governor there and still in leadership position of the people. And so Tobiah was married into one of the more prominent families there. And so they kept giving information to him about Nehemiah. Oh, yeah, Nehemiah did this horrible thing and this horrible thing. But then they turn around and come to Nehemiah and say, Tobiah is so good. Did you see what he did? He did this and this and this. He's just a great person, don't you think? And I'm sure Nehemiah wanted to take his sword out and do away with him. But he didn't. But the opposition did not cease just because the wall ended. All right. Nehemiah 7, reestablishing Jerusalem. Verse 7, after the wall had been rebuilt, and I had set the doors in place, the gatekeepers, the musicians, and the Levites were appointed. I put in charge of Jerusalem my brother Hanani, who was the one who originally came to him and said, hey, the walls are still burned, along with Hananiah, the commander of the citadel, because he was a man of integrity and feared God more than most people do. He wasn't perfect, but he feared God more than other people did, okay? So he was normal. And I said to them, the gates of Jerusalem are not to be opened until the sun is hot, while the gatekeepers are still on duty. I have them shut the doors and bar them. Also appoint residents of Jerusalem as guards, some at their posts and some near their own houses. So he sets up the civil authorities. The religious authorities were already sent. He sets up the civil authorities now with the governor and the head of the citadel, the military. He has gatekeepers at each gate, and he says they are to open the gates only when the sun is high. In other words, we don't want it to be dim or dark when the gates are open because militaries can come in on you. And you shut them before it starts getting twilight, and they might be able to sneak up on you. You want to have clear sight of vision around the place. Okay? So he's assigned his officials. He's established the security because not only does he have the gatekeepers, but he has people within Jerusalem also patrolling Jerusalem with their swords. Just in case, while the gates are open, these people come in, and then when the gates are closed, now all of a sudden we have a force in there that we didn't know about. Okay? Now, verse 4. Now the city was large and spacious, but there were few people in it, and the houses had not yet been rebuilt. So my God put it into my heart to assemble the nobles, the officials, and the common people for registration by families. It is interesting that houses hadn't been rebuilt yet. Apparently, we don't know why. I mean, they've been there for over 20 years, well, more than that, and they hadn't rebuilt their houses. We don't know why. Maybe it's because the temple, maybe they were still in tents. They just hadn't gotten around to doing houses. Whatever. Not all the houses, maybe that's what he means. Not all the houses had been built. I found the genealogical record of those who had been the first to return. This is what I found written there. So then he quotes Ezra chapter 2, kind of. There are some differences here. And the differences could be because it is an updated copy of what Ezra had, or what we have in Ezra, or there's just errors within the scribal errors. Okay, there isn't anything that's greatly weird about it. And so we get to verse 70, and it talks about some of the heads of the families contributed to the work. This really is different than what we find in Ezra 2. The governor gave the treasury 1,000 derricks of gold, 50 bowls, and 530 garments for priests. Some of the heads of the families gave to the treasury for the work 20,000 derricks of gold and 2,200 minas of silver. The total given by the rest of the people was 20,000 derricks of gold, 2,000 minas of silver, and 67 garments for priests. This is a huge amount and way over what we see in Ezra. Now, this, once again, it could have been an updated listing after the point we have in Ezra. Okay, depends on what documents each person was using. Okay. So verse 73, the priests, the Levites, the gatekeepers, the musicians, and the temple servants, along with certain of the people and the rest of the Israelites, settled in their own towns. So they went out and settled in their own towns. So that is exactly what Ezra says as well. But the point is, let's bring them in from the towns, bring them into Jerusalem. Okay. So he is trying to increase the population to increase the safety within Jerusalem. All right.
Jerusalem had the wall around it, but these other towns were unprotected.
Yeah, the other towns were unprotected. Yeah, they were very important. Jerusalem was a key spot as far as traffic was concerned.
This wouldn't bother, but
No, not usually. So
And they could flee to the.
they could flee to, they could flee to Jerusalem if they needed to. Yeah. All right, it is easier to see where God is leading when you know where God has been. And Nehemiah knew where God had been. God had put them in exile and brought them back. He was a God who fulfilled his covenants. And now he's fulfilling this promise of the wall being rebuilt. Okay? And Jerusalem being restored. All right. Thank you all.